So I'm going to St Albans, to the Magistrates Court. This is a CMS case, an absolutely bonkers case. But there will be a podcast to discuss it in much more detail. I think this is really interesting because, I mean, this guy's got, he doubled down on all of his information. He has got records, he has got evidence, he's got HMRC, he's even got the records of the CMS through the proper channels. And yeah, they are ignoring all of the evidence of the book. So what does that say? Does that say that this is an agency that is working appropriately with fathers who provide information and providing their income as they should? Absolutely not. So I think this case is going to be very interesting. So we're going to get to the court now, and we're going to film as much as we can. And we'll see if we'll be able to go inside the court itself. I don't know. But following this, there will be a podcast.
Hey, Jeremy. So why are you here today, mate?
Well, because the Child Maintenance Service have completely fabricated a case against me with fictitious figures, and they've completely refused to explain any of their figures, including saying they can't find the document where they say they're taking me to court with the figures on it.
All right. So what's your intention to say to them today?
To say to the child maintenance officer that I'm giving her every opportunity to stop this case and withdraw these proceedings, whatever the legal word is for it, because it's fictitious, and that in future events, any court proceedings following this, they cannot argue that it was a simple error of administrative error, but that it was willing and knowing malfeasance and persecution.
What do you think they might say to you in court today?
I've got no idea, really. I don't know. But the magistrates have a duty for transparency and fairness, and to look at the process by which where the Child Maintenance Service failed. And if the magistrates can't see that from the very, very simple evidence, then they are also failing in their duty in a public office as well.
So what principles do you think that you're going to be trying to hold them to?
Principles, well, they're the principles of known principles that officers in public office should follow, of transparency, honesty, integrity, clarity, equality, doing what is right doing what is right and acting, but
for the public.
For the public, yes.
That's right.
And for them to not be transparent in any process is simply unacceptable at best.
How long has this been going on for you?
This has been going on now since it kicked off in about July 2021. Before that, up until I was paying maintenance since 2014. I paid double, and I told them I was paying double with extras. They didn't listen to a word of that. And in July 2021, they fabricated a whole load of rubbish, and they listened to my ex when she rang them, and so they switched me wrongly to collect and pay when there was no breakdown in payments I was paying. And then they suddenly and erroneously said I need to now pay them £2,013 per week, which was completely and utterly ludicrous. Because if I was paying them £2,013 a week plus my daughter's college fees at £800, that would be almost double what I'm earning. So it would be it's complete persecution. It's completely ridiculous.
And you were able to evidence that?
I'm able to evidence all of that.
And you've given that evidence to the CMS on numerous occasions.
I have, since they started court proceedings, which they did in a rush, it's a known deliberate tactic from the CMS to push cases on people very fast, so lack of time to prepare. They've done it again today. They made a mistake. They've admitted the mistake in switching it to Norwich for 2 weeks' time. And then they've said, sorry, it's our error, but no, you've got to have this, can't change it again. So I've got ill-prepared papers of documents.
And you're a person who is a very well-prepared individual.
Normally I'd have a
I know, if I come around my house and I see it all.
Normally I'd have a folder full that was tabulated in documents and printed off. in 3 copies, so everyone would have equal copies, could see that, and it would all be presented to the court in beforehand, so they could all have evidence to see it.
Yeah.
If the magistrates have to say they can't accept any evidence, then that will be further evidence of the CMS fraud.
Yeah.
And in breaking court procedural rules.
So what would be your next step if that happens here? If they once again refuse to see any evidence or refuse to acknowledge any malfeasance?
I need to have it on record that they've completely refused to be transparent, and the magistrates and CMS are liable and guilty of malfeasance.
Yeah.
And that on record, because and that it's a complete denial of my rights to fair trial.
So there's complete confusion because we've now been told, went back to the clerk and she said, haven't you spoken to the caseworker? I said, no. Or she might be downstairs. Go downstairs and wait. I said, well, I don't know where I'm going. So there's clearly confusion in the courts.
Yeah.
So I said, well, we're going to sit down and wait and she can come and find us.
There's always confusion when there's corruption.
Yeah.
It's always confusion when there's corruption.
As such as the CMS and magistrate courts, and would you say that that's just a corrupt system?
Corruption is going on, and we cannot be desensitised from talking about corruption.
In my hearing just now, they would not only not look at calculations, they would not look at the process, they would not consider the breach of court procedural rules by the Child Maintenance Service to allow me only 2 days of notice in the trial. Child Maintenance breach of court procedural rules to not be willing to correspond, block evidence, provide no evidence in my case of I've repeatedly asked for the statements, the tax calculations, the evidence to explain their figures, how they can make their claims. They produce me not one single shred of evidence or calculation to prove any of it. And the magistrate said, we cannot look at the calculations, we cannot look at the procedure. There's nothing at all that they could look at whatsoever to find against the Child Maintenance Service. I have just wasted 3 hours of my time when they were clearly going to award this liability order, come what may. I had no defence. There was nothing I could say. There was a whiff of regret from the magistrate who may have had some inkling of the situation, but he said, his hands are tied by law.
Okay.
Thieves and murderers, criminal theft, nothing more. You know it.
Outbursts like that can get you into an awful lot of trouble.
Bring on to see the newspaper today.
Dad.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on to see the newspaper.